let's get into the giant mailbag.
What crazy thing did City do this week?
It's time for Mattress Running the Numbers. Ready for the main event?
The main event.
Frequent Miler on the air starts now. Today's main event. Is it time to say Bon Voyage to Marriott Bonvoy?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. In one monumental announcement, Marriott introduced what I think is one of the most innovative, great new features of a hotel program like ever that I can remember. But then they dashed all our hopes in the next sentence when they announced.
What a horrible email. I mean, I went from so excited to so crushed in one sentence.
When they announced that they're moving to dynamic award pricing. So,
right.
Yeah. We'll dive all into that. Today, today's giant mailbag, we have a double header.
Double header. All right. Twice the fun. Double your pleasure, double your fun, double your giant mailbag.
Oh boy, that stuff's back. Oh boy. Note to self, no more double headers. Nick's going to keep that up. All right. The first one requires sort of a history lesson in our show. 2 weeks ago, we discussed the JetBlue new thing where they're allowing $15,000 spend on their JetBlue credit card in order to get Mosaic Elite status. And I said, oh, but if you get 15,000 points because of earning Mosaic status, that's a good deal. So you should do it. You should do that spend.
And I was skeptical. I said,
you were skeptical.
I don't know.
You were rightly skeptical because the next week we announced, thanks to reader input, that in fact, JetBlue has terms that say, no, spending your way to status basically doesn't get you those 15,000 bonus points. But now we're back.
And I trumpeted my skepticism. I said, yes, I was right to be skeptical.
You did. Okay. So this should be Nick's confession time, because a reader again reached out, this time forwarding an email from JetBlue. So this is actually giant mail from JetBlue. JetBlue says there was a section in their email that said more paths to Mosaic and more benefits. And they went on to list different ways you can now earn Mosaic status this year because of all the COVID-related measures they've taken. And then it goes on to say, no matter which way you qualify, you'll still be awarded 15,000 True Blue points as a bonus.
Hey, I was only skeptical. I didn't say it wouldn't happen. I was just skeptical. I said, I don't know if it'll happen, but JetBlue answered that. So thank you, JetBlue. Now we know. Greg was right off the bat. He just didn't even know
listening to our show. So thank you, JetBlue, for that. Hopefully this will be the last show where we talk about that.
Well, I mean, we're back to the fact that could be a good deal then, because you get, you end up with 30,000 points for your 15K spend plus Mosaic status.
Yes, it's a good deal. So we're back to the original conclusion. So basically you could just skip last week's discussion about it. And
skip that. If it's not too late. Yeah, skip that.
Right. But don't skip the rest of the show. Just that particular discussion.
Last week was the only time we're going to be wrong ever.
Yeah. That's definitely true. Okay. Marriott sent in the next piece of mail. And
I don't want any more Marriott mail. I had enough Marriott mail.
Well, this is the mail, but I just had to read a section from it. They say in March 2022, we'll introduce new flexible point redemption rates that move more closely in line with hotel rates, giving you even more options to choose from. Hotels and resorts will still have a minimum and maximum number of points for redemption rates.
You just don't know what they are.
They'll more closely align to how they're categorized today. So basically they're saying we're moving to dynamic pricing, and then we're saying a bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense. At least I can't make any sense out of those sentences at all.
Not at all. To give you more flexibility so you can pay more points, and there'll be a cap. We just won't tell you how much it is. So
the part about there will be minimum and maximum number of points, but there also won't be because it's going to be dynamic. I just don't understand it. So hopefully at some point in the future, we'll learn what all that means.
Yeah, I'm not that hopeful. I imagine we will. I'm not hopeful about it.
Okay.
All right. So
moving on.
We'll move on because we're going to come back to Marriott in a few minutes. So what crazy thing did Hyatt do this week?
Yeah, what did Hyatt do this week?
Oh man, so they introduced standard peak and off-peak pricing. So now every
As
hotel,
we knew they would.
Yes, we knew they would. So that was expected, planned. They told us plenty far in advance that was going to happen at like 10 a.m. Central or whatever on the 26th. So we've known for a long time. So that wasn't a surprise at all. And, it really wasn't that bad, truthfully, right? I mean, some properties cost a little bit more than they did. Some cost a little bit less. But overall, the peak and off-peak deal, I mean, certainly in comparison to what Marriott is probably going to do here, not so bad, right?
We're gonna have a full analysis soon, and so we'll probably dive into this in depth next week on next week's show. But we're just not ready to do that yet. So.
Okay, so we'll leave that there for right now. So then,
yeah,
the crazy part though is this, and it takes a little following along here, but if you go to Hyatt.com and you search for a stay right now, obviously every hotel could have 3 different prices. It could be off-peak, standard, or peak.
Right.
And so when you do a
unless you're searching for a one-night stay.
Unless you're searching for a one-night stay, and then it could still have 3 different prices when you search it. You just don't know which one
for that one night it's going to
for the one night.
Yeah,
right.
I see.
So if you search a multiple night stay, the problem is you may get one night that's off peak, one night that's standard, and one night that's peak. The bigger problem with that is when you search at Hyatt.com, it will only show you the price of the cheapest night until you get to the final checkout screen, which again may not seem like a huge problem yet until you realize that you can only get to the final checkout screen if you have enough points in your account to cover the entire stay. So let me give you an example. So I looked up a stay for a weekend at the Andaz 5th Ave next October. And when I looked it up on the website, it showed 25,000 points per night. And when I logged in, it still said 25,000 points per night on the page where you click select to select your room type. When you click select and go through to the next page, only on the final booking page does it show that the total price for my 2-night stay was actually 54,000 points, not the 50,000 that I expected. The only reason I could see that is because I had more than 54,000 points in my account. My wife searched the same thing. And when she clicked select to select the room, it just told her she didn't have enough points and she could buy more points, but it didn't tell her how many points she would need. And if she had searched a 2-night stay and it said 25,000 points, she would probably think that she needs to transfer 50,000 points from Chase Ultimate Rewards, not 54,000, because there'd be no indication that she'd need 54,000. And it's an even bigger deal, obviously, if you're looking at a week-long stay or something like that, where maybe only one night is standard or off-peak and all the other nights are peak, and you have no way to know that until you've finally transferred over enough points to cover however many peak nights there may be.
Right.
So that's kind of
that's bad. Wasn't there a situation where somebody canceled their stay and intending to rebook it at that lower rate that they saw on the screen, and then it turned out it wasn't true? It wasn't actually lower.
That was exactly it. We had a reader, who had a stay booked, and she was searching around the time when the rates were changing, and she saw actually, the truth is that Hyatt debuted the peak and off-peak pricing a few minutes early. I got caught up in that trying to make a last-minute reservation, and this reader that reached out to me was also taking a look at everything those few minutes before things changed, and saw a few minutes before the stated time that, oh, wow, the hotel she had booked is now cheaper. So rather than wait, which is what she should have done, because if it dropped in price, Hyatt's going to automatically refund you.
Right.
But rather than wait, she thought, oh my goodness, it's a few minutes early here. Maybe I can cancel and rebook and get some points to book another reservation before the peak prices start on that other hotel. So anyway, she saw that the price had gone down. So she canceled her reservation and then went to rebook it, and suddenly didn't have enough points to rebook it and didn't know how many points she needed because it doesn't say. So the solution is to click the points calendar. There's a little points calendar that seems useless on the one hand, because when you click the points calendar, it shows you the points price for every night, whether or not there's availability. So if you're trying to look for availability, the calendar is not useful at all. However, if you're looking up a multi-night stay, you want to click that little link that says points calendar. If you can't find it on the page, hit Control F so you can see which nights of your stay are peak priced.
Yeah,
so
and at this point, you have to do it on a like a desktop browser. It's not working in the app right now, is my understanding. But hopefully they'll fix that soon. So,
So you'll have to look though to make sure to do the math yourself as to how many of your nights are peak or off peak or standard to know how many points to transfer over from Ultimate Rewards. Now I assume you could probably also send a message to the Hyatt concierge on Twitter or call Hyatt, and they should probably be able to tell you.
But that's crazy.
Annoying.
I mean, this absolutely belongs in this segment. It's crazy that they're not showing the right answer for how many points you need
and showing the lowest price.
And the only way to see it online is once you have enough points.
Yeah.
There's
That's crazy.
Okay.
I looked up like a 9-night stay where 6 nights were peak and only 3 were standard, and it just shows you the standard price. So I mean that difference on a property. I was looking at a 25K property, so it's a difference of 24,000 points. I mean, we're not talking about a small difference in terms of the number of points. So do your homework. Use the price calendar.
All right. Hopefully it'll fix that soon.
Hopefully they will. But in the meantime, we'll talk about mattress running the numbers, or this week, mileage running the numbers.
Sort of. Yes. We're going to talk about American Airlines. So Hyatt and Marriott weren't the only ones with monumental announcements this week. The other was American Airlines. So they are ditching the whole way you get elite status. So they, like most other airlines, they currently require you to earn elite qualifying miles or segments and elite qualifying dollars in order to get to elite status. And that's all very complicated, confusing. What they're doing instead is they're moving to a single simplified approach, which is loyalty points. And all you need is to earn loyalty points, which you could earn from flying or from things like credit card spend, and in some cases partner spend, like shopping with certain partners and that sort of thing. And when you hit certain thresholds of earning loyalty points, then you get to those elite status levels. So huge change to American Airlines elite program.
Pretty good to me, right? I mean, that simplifies things. I hate the whole elite qualifying miles and dollars and segments. There's just too many metrics. I'm like, I just want an easy way to determine if I get elite status or not. One thing that I can count. So I feel like American hit the nail on the head with me as far as that goes.
I've been expecting airlines to do this for years. I think a few years ago, if I remember right, I think I predicted that an airline, maybe Delta or someone, would do it. I'm surprised that it's taken this long. But the sort of the net result is that if you only earn through flying, it's going to cost you more. You're going to have to pay for more flights to get the same status levels. But if you also do things like put some spend on American Airlines credit cards or those other things we talked about, then it's actually going to be, I think, for most people, a lot easier to achieve status.
And a better metric for determining loyalty, in my opinion, because loyalty is not just about flying the airline. It's about going to their shopping portal when you're going to start shopping online, or linking up your credit card with their Simply Miles, or having their credit card in the first place. It makes sense to me to reward people who are very loyal to the airline beyond just flying, especially when the majority of an airline's business these days is selling those frequent flyer miles, right? So, it makes sense to me that they're rewarding that. So I think that's good news for probably most listeners. It's bad news for people who, like you said, only earned their status from flight activity. You're going to have to do some other stuff, or you're going to have to spend more.
Right. So this makes American also the second major airline now where you could conceivably just spend your way to top tier status.
Oh, that's not the second. We just talked about Mosaic a few minutes ago.
I said major. So, I mean a major global airline.
Okay. All right. You consider JetBlue major? Come on.
JetBlue, I guess they're major, but they're also regional.
I mean, you're also spending to their bottom tier of status, since they only have one.
The only tier. That's right. Bottom and top.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So Delta, of course, and American now you can spend your way. So I mean, this all sounds like good news. So should I do it? Should I spend my way? I mean, you can spend your way all the way to top tier executive platinum status, right? I mean, you need 200,000 loyalty points, which I could earn from shopping through the shopping portal and using the credit card. Should I do it? I mean, you do it with Delta. Should I do it with American?
Right. So at a high level, you need 200,000 loyalty points for executive platinum, or 120,000 for platinum pro,
that's a big difference.
which is the next level down. So so platinum pro is much easier to get and has a lot of the same benefits as executive platinum. I'll dive into that a little bit. And What was I going to say? Oh, most American Airlines credit cards uh, earn one loyalty point per dollar spent. There's one that'll only get a half, and right now there are a few that with certain thresholds of spend you'll get some bonus loyalty points, but that seems to be an interim time until, because of the perks that they used to offer. And so we're kind of predicting that they'll probably do something even better with those cards, maybe next year, but we don't know. So we're going to base this discussion on what we know right now, which is that most cards earn just one loyalty point, and kind of forget about those extra bonuses that are possible to get, just to simplify the discussion. But so basically $200K to get Executive Platinum, $120K to get Platinum Pro. Let's talk about some of the benefits. First, the benefits you don't get. So American has these things that are choice benefits. And unlike Delta, with Delta, when you spend your way to top tier status, you do get the choice benefits. With American, you don't. They're separating them. A lot like Hyatt did. Hyatt has their milestone rewards. American is separated out. So if you want those system-wide global upgrades that American gives out at high levels, you have to do other stuff to get those. And it's still based on loyalty points, but you also have to fly 30 segments. So let's just sort of take that off the table, because that complicates the conversation, if you don't mind. Okay. So the benefits you do get without flying 30 segments, you can qualify for upgrades on award tickets. You can, I think that's only Executive Platinum though, not Platinum Pro.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. And free upgrades are 100 hours out with Executive Platinum versus 72 hours out with Platinum Pro. So you have sort of a better chance of getting there first. When you're flying on, paid flights, you get 120% mileage bonus. So these are redeemable miles you earn, versus 80% with Platinum Pro. With either one, free same day flight changes. So that's pretty good. Only Executive Platinum you get if you're flying main cabin, so your upgrades failed to clear, you still get free alcohol and a snack if you're sitting back there. And again, another one, only Executive Platinum, expanded award availability on American Airlines itself. So I have no idea how much more award availability, but that sounds pretty exciting in a way. Although you do have to fly American to get it. So to use it,
I don't know if I'd say exciting.
I think
useful,
where
maybe.
I think
maybe
where I think that's most useful is like positioning flights. So you really want to fly, Qatar using your American Airlines miles, but you have to get to that other airport, and so you have a better chance of securing that award for that positioning flight. One World Emerald status, so that gives you things like access to partner lounges, even when you're not flying business or first class, including first class partner lounges. So
now, is that for both Executive Platinum and Platinum Pro?
It is. Right? It is. Yep. And you are also eligible for upgrades on Alaska Airlines. So you also get some perks, other perks like free bags and stuff on both Alaska and JetBlue. So quite a few perks, and but at the same time, a lot of spend.
So tell me, Craig, I look at the two and I say, is it worth another 80,000 spend? Let's say you're doing it all on the credit card. Is it worth spending another $80,000 to get to Executive Platinum? And my answer to that is, unless you're doing the segments for the stuff that we don't get, then no. And if you're not flying American or flying enough segments to get the extra stuff, then I don't think it's worth spending another $80,000 to get upgrades on award tickets, a little bit more earnings on the flights you pay for, and there's one other thing in there somewhere, an expanded award availability. I don't know. The expanded award availability might be kind of nice. I don't think I'd use it often enough for it to be valuable enough to dedicate another 80K spend or shopping portal activity or whatever. But Platinum Pro at 120, or a mix of credit card spend and shopping portal spend and Simply Miles offers, I don't know, that's becoming a little bit more appealing to me, because I also get benefits on Alaska and JetBlue then. So I don't know, maybe it's worth it.
So, but think of it this way. So American Airlines cards only earn 1 mile per dollar.
Yeah.
Whereas you could spend on transferable points currencies like
True.
Capital One or Citi Thank You, where you'd get 2 points per dollar. And so 120,000, that's 120,000 fewer points you're getting by putting 120,000 K spend on an American Airlines card.
That's a good point. It's not
And
cheap.
they're transferable points that you'd be getting if you do it this other way versus, just American Airlines. So I haven't done a full analysis, but I don't think it's worth it. I don't see that. So here's how I feel about it. Like, unless you're already flying American enough to be like getting towards those status levels, it just doesn't seem like you're going to get enough out of it to be worth it. And if you are already flying American to get close to them, then the question is like, do you spend more on the card to get to that next level? And then that's a whole different question, I think. And I would be more likely to say yes.
That makes sense. But I think, so if this X1 card becomes a real thing, Greg wrote about the X1 card earlier this week and how, you could, if with enough spend, you can get 15 or 3 points per dollar on most spend, and then use them at 1 cent each for things like American Airlines flights. Right. And so, or if you refer somebody, it's 4. So even at 3, if you're getting 3% back and using those rewards to book paid American Airlines flights and earn a base level of 5 loyalty points per dollar spent on American, I might consider flying more paid American flights with the combination of the X1 card and this new loyalty points scheme. And then I might consider adding to, like you said, to the spend with a credit card and the shopping portal to bridge the gap. So even not flying a ton, I mean, even just flying some, I can't think of a number, I'd have to do the analysis on American, that might work out.
It might. So one of the things I'm kind of looking forward to is the good old days of portals. So it used to be that portal shopping would and things like buying 1-800-Flowers would count towards Southwest Companion Pass. So we used to regularly write about deals where you could, buy a bunch of things and resell them or donate them to charity and sort of buy the Southwest Companion Pass cheaply.
Mm-hmm.
We might have a window of opportunity before American wises up where we could buy our way to top tier elite status. But we don't have the details yet about how the portal thing's going to work. So we don't know.
That's what I was most excited about when I saw it. Because I mean, I've done a lot of buying and selling over time through portals, buying things online to resell, usually for a small profit. But like you said, it might even be worth it for a small loss, depending on how much. And even if you're just earning 10 miles per dollar, then $12,000 worth of stuff would give you Platinum Pro potentially. So even if you sold that $12,000 of stuff for $11,000, and you spend about $1,000 on 120,000 American Airlines miles and Platinum Pro status, that's probably worthwhile. So, and obviously the 1-800-Flowers type offers may even be better than that. So it may even be a cheaper path. So totally agree. That's probably the part that excites me the most.
Yeah. Those things are always fun when we figure out how to manipulate it all and get great value with relatively low spend.
Looking forward to that. All right. So then that brings us to the main event.
The main event. Bonvoy. Is it time to say Bonvoyage to Marriott Bonvoy?
I'm waving for those listening in podcast form. I'm waving.
Yeah. So they're going all dynamic pricing on us in March. That's the bad news. And the reason we universally consider it bad news in this hobby is that it takes away the outsized value opportunities. So when you see today, when you have award charts, when you see a hotel that costs way more than it should in cash, the point price is constrained in some way. And so the value per point you're getting tends to be crazy high. And it gives us opportunities to do things, stay in like ultra luxury or just amazing, stay in a hotel in Times Square on New Year's Eve when otherwise you'd be priced out of that. Things like that you wouldn't be able to do without points. But once they move to truly dynamic pricing, where they're basically matching the point price to the cash price, that goes away.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I'm sure there's some people who are like, well, I can still use my points. And yeah, you can. You're just not going to get particularly good value. And so at that point, then we start to wonder, is it worth collecting them or just using your cash and buying that room? I mean, it's nice to have the joy of free, except it's not really free if you're collecting, a billion points to spend on New Year's Eve. There's a cost in collecting. So there are some people that I think will find this to be a positive change, though. There are some people who commented to say that they'll find this to be a positive change because they say that, if you're not looking for those opportunities, if you're not looking to stay in Times Square on New Year's Eve, or you're not looking to stay at the Ritz in the Maldives or whatever it might be, you're just looking for a courtyard, in the place where you want to go on vacation or to visit family or whatever else. Probably the dynamic pricing model is going to make it more predictable, easy for you to get a predictable, standard, consistent value. And so if that's all you want from your points, this is, I guess, a positive.
No, it's true. The less you pay attention to looking for those sweet spot awards, the more likely you are with an award chart to actually get screwed out of good value. You're likely to book, use your 25,000 points to book $100 property and get like really bad value. But in the new world, that same $100 hotel should only cost, I don't know, 8,000 points or 12,000 points or whatever. It should be closer to the cash price, but in cents.
Right.
So,
so is it worth?
Good. That's good.
Yeah. I mean,
for that situation,
because they're predictable, the value will probably be predictable. We're assuming here, but it's probably a safe assumption that the value will be relatively predictable, relatively tied to the cash price when they go dynamic. Will it be worth collecting points? And I'm jumping into that and I'm thinking maybe we should back up. Maybe we should back up and talk about the positives, because Marriott made some positive changes here, right?
They did.
So let's talk about the positive first before we slam them, because I'm pretty sure we've got a lot to say about the negative.
So first of all, the announcement included, let me just get this out. Included extending a lot of stuff. There you go. Whatever elite status you have now gets extended into next year. If you have free nights expiring the first half of next year, which most of us do because they got rolled over to January 3rd previously, they get extended to the end of June, I think it is. And if you have like upgrades, what are they called? Sweet night awards. Those get extended, things like that. So that's all great news, and hopefully it'll put pressure on the other chains too to follow suit, because others have been slower to do those, at least certificate extensions.
Hyatt, Radisson,
Hyatt, IHG.
Hello, guys.
I'm looking at you guys.
Yeah. So they've extended things. That's good.
So that's all good news. But let's talk about the really exciting. I mean, I got really excited about this particular piece of news. Do you want to introduce this?
Yeah. So Marriott has announced that now there's going to be free night top up. And the free night top up is that you can take your free night certificates and add up to 15,000 points to stay at a more expensive property. So if you have a 35,000 point certificate and the hotel you want to stay at is 40,000 points, in today's world, you're out of luck. Your 35K cert won't work. However, starting in early 2022, we don't know exactly when, but hopefully early in 2022, got my fingers crossed, you'll be able to add 5,000 points to your 35K certificate and book that property that costs 40,000 points. That's awesome. We've been wanting that forever, right?
Right. And it's not just sort of theoretically good. It's like when I've done analyses of Marriott point values and certificate values, I've seen time and again that the certificate levels, the 35K certificates and the 50K certificates, are at the point where when the hotels are priced higher, cash rates are higher, they are just priced out of that, like, right? So at the time you want to stay at that property that's usually 35K, it costs 40K. Time you want to stay at that property that's usually 50K, it costs 60K. So the ability to throw in some points to give you access to those really desirable properties, there's some really nice ones at both of those levels, I think is absolutely huge. It makes all the difference in the world about how useful those certificates are.
It really does. Because like you said, I think that the exciting times to use certificates are either A, when you can get outsized luxury, you can stay at a place that's more luxurious than what you would normally pay for using your certificates. And again, those are going to be often peak priced. And B, to stay at times for whether it's for events or seasonality things when it's otherwise expensive, because that's the time everybody wants to go. So whether that's New Year's Eve or the Super Bowl or some other special event that's going on in town, being able to use points or certificates during those times are really valuable. And like you said, the problem is just that you've often had to settle for a lesser property that's peak priced, or the fact that you can't use your certificates. And now you don't have to give up anything. Now you can use your certificate and add points on top and stay during that super popular time.
Right. It even extends to those 85K certificates that just appeared on the Bonvoy Brilliant welcome bonus. There's an 85K certificate we've never seen before. As things stand now with the current award charts, that gives you access to the top of the top tier hotels in Marriott's system when they're standard price. But when they're peak priced at 100K, you can't use a certificate today to do that. But if you could throw in 15,000 points, that means St. Regis Maldives, when it's in peak price at 100K, a lot of properties like that, you'd be able to book it. And that's amazing.
It is. So that should be really good news, hopefully for a little while, because that's expected to debut in early 2022. Now, your guess is as good as ours as to what early 2022 means, but we're at least hopeful, probably for good reason, that they're going to debut that early in 2022, before March.
Right. So before the categories go away, before the whole category award chart pricing goes away, then we'd be able to book our stays. So it'll be like a one-shot deal to predictably book these stays in that way that we were talking about. Now, I say predictably because hopefully when they go to dynamic, you know, point prices will still be in a similar range than they are today. And so most of the time you probably could still book what you need and use these things to do it. You just couldn't rely on it because we can't, in that St. Regis Maldives example, you couldn't rely on it being limited to 100K a night, the point price.
Because Marriott has not committed to capping things at 100,000 points. And we did follow up with them and try to get that. And they were like, nope, not going to commit on that. So
right.
Clearly,
despite the email that said, we will still have a minimum and maximum number of points for redemption rates.
Yeah. No, doesn't sound like that's really the case. So, I mean, there'll be a maximum. We just don't know what that'll be.
Right. It might be a daily or
the possibilities are infinite.
Maximum.
right.
That's right.
So all right. So when this award chart goes away, obviously we're joking about it a lot. We're not very happy about it because we expect that value in general will probably, for us anyway, for people who are aimed at maximizing and trying to get that huge outsized value, probably going to go down, probably going to be harder for us to use our points and get amazing value, get consistent but not amazing value. So is it worth collecting those points at all anymore? I mean, when IHG did this, I basically stopped collecting IHG points because I'm like, I can buy them for half a cent each, and that's about all the value I'm going to get anyway. So why am I going to bother collecting these? Is it going to be the same thing with Marriott?
Yeah, I mean, to a large extent, I think so. I think that if you're in the situation of like, I'm going to earn either Marriott points or transferable points or cash back, you'd have to be earning a lot of Marriott points compared to those other things, I think, for it to be worth leaning towards Marriott. And their credit cards they standardly earn 2 points per dollar. That's not enough. So if you think about like currently the average value of your point is around 0.6 or 0.7. Earning 2 points per dollar is less than 1.5% cash back, which you could get from any card. You know, that's not good because there are 2% and higher value cards. And then obviously if you're staying at a Marriott, you should, and you booked sort of directly, of course you should collect the points, but it changes the equation on things like if you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve where you could click through Chase's portal and earn 10x booking the same hotel, then it kind of changes the equation a little bit about how much are you giving up by not going through directly. Now, there's other aspects to it, but it just, changes it a little bit.
Yeah.
So on that level, I'd say, yeah, I do not see like setting out to collect Marriott points as an end game, unless a reader brought this up. What about transfers to airline programs? So Marriott allows transferring to many more airline programs than any of the transferable points currencies, including some very valuable ones that the other transfer programs don't have, like Alaska Airlines and Asiana, two that come to my head. And so if you, but they don't transfer 1-to-1. They transfer 3-to-1 unless you do 60,000 points at a time, at which point it transfers 60K to 25K, 60K Marriott points to 25K airline miles. Let me jump to some math I did earlier. if you sort of agree that there are times where you're going to need airline miles and you're going to get very high value for them, so you'd be willing to spend at least 2 cents per mile to acquire those miles, whether it's Alaska miles or whatever, because there's a very valuable award you want to book, then you could say that this 60K to 25K transfer gives you over 0.8 cents value per Marriott point. And the actual redemption value could be, that's like based on a very low rate of like getting 2 cents airline mile value. But if you get much higher than that, then the actual value of your Marriott points could be much higher as well, with a cap being whatever you could have outright bought those airline miles for, which varies by program. So it gets complicated to analyze it that way. But the point is that there's sort of a minimum value, no matter what Marriott does with the dynamic pricing. If they keep this transfer partner stuff going, your point value is sort of protected to some degree. What do you think?
Some degree, yes. Whatever points you have in your account right now, that's a great point. They're not going to automatically devalue just because they'll buy less Marriott stays, because the points you have in your account right now will still be able to be transferred, at least as far as we know, to airlines at that same predictable rate. So I'll agree with that, especially because it does give you access to most of the same programs. I think all of the same programs to which you can transfer from the transferable currencies, plus, like you said, several of those obscure ones that are harder to get. So whether you're adding to a pile for an award to top off for an award, or starting anew with an airline that you wouldn't otherwise have miles with, yeah, it's true. It's still good for that. It's still disappointing to me because I want my hotel points to buy hotel stays because I have enough ways to earn airline miles to keep me happy. Yeah, there's some obscure programs. Like you said, Asiana is a great example of one that they've got some awesome sweet spots, and I could transfer Marriott points to take advantage of those, but I don't because I have plenty of airline miles and not so many ways to earn hotel points to pay for my hotel stays that are attractive. It's becoming more and more the cash back, I feel like, is the better answer for hotels and just paying for your hotels outright. And that's all well and good, except I'm a cheapskate. I don't really want to spend nearly as much on the hotels as I was willing to spend in the loyalty point funny money. So I'm going to end up booking cheaper places that I'm less happy about because I'm not going to want to spend the $300 or $400 or $500 a night for the places that I used to enjoy staying with my Marriott.
Or you'll book with hotel programs that still have award charts. So
that's obviously true. Yes, of course. Yeah. And so Hyatt is a winner there, though. I will say Marriott has a much better footprint than Hyatt. So that's the disappointment for me here, that I was not a Marriott person until the last couple of years, but I've become more and more of a Marriott person because it's so easy to find one. Of course, that's another story for another day. But
I don't know. I think that transitions in the next question is whether elite status is still worth pursuing with Marriott. If you're kind of fed up with the program because of you're not going to get that outsized value, you're probably not going to be staying at St. Regis properties going forward, after the award charts change. Is it as exciting to pursue elite status?
I mean, no, it's not as exciting for sure. The benefits are nice, but the benefits to me are appealing because I can get those benefits on those St. Regency type stays.
Right.
I want to be able to get free breakfast at a swanky place that I didn't want to pay the cash rate for. And I'm not going to want to spend so many points that it feels like I am paying the cash rate. So yeah, I think probably I'm actually glad this came out now, because I was teetering on doing a mattress run to get myself to titanium again, because I have titanium status right now. I wasn't going to have 75 nights this year. So I thought I might do a mattress run to get there, to keep titanium status next year. Now they've extended it, so I don't need to worry about that at all. I'll still have my titanium status, not worth the mattress run for the additional benefits. And I'll probably be done with elite status with Marriott after that. I think, I like the benefits, but not enough. And I'm probably, I assume, going to be limiting myself to like Residence Inn and Town Place Suites type places moving forward. So if I'm going to do that, and it's going to be a place where everybody gets breakfast anyway, and there's not usually much of an upgrade to be had, I might as well just book through Chase and get 10X, I think.
Yeah. Or if the rates are cheap enough, book through Marriott Stars, one of those programs that gives you all kinds of elite-like benefits, and then you don't have to worry about it. I'm in the lucky position. I have lifetime Marriott Platinum status, so I don't even have to worry about it. I mean, I'm not going to be pursuing titanium status going forward. I can't imagine, but just like you, I have it rolling over to next year. So who knows, things might change, but based on what we expect to happen, I can't see myself doing that. So yeah, I mean, if you're close to lifetime, I think then maybe keep it up a little while just to get there, so that you have that as a backup. But you're right. The biggest value, we've talked about this many times, that the biggest value of achieving platinum status or higher with Marriott is because you're going to be spending time at these like St. Regis properties and others where, breakfast would have cost you $50 per person, but instead you're going to get it for free. And you're just not going to
lounge access or whatever else it might be. But again, I mean, I look at it and say, okay, well, if I'm not going to be staying at those places very much, then if I really want that, I'll just pay for it, or I'll book through the Chase portal and use my points at 1.5 cents each through Ultimate Rewards and pay for breakfast, or get the club room by using the points to book the club room in the first place.
Yeah.
If that matters to me. I think anyway. I mean, unless Marriott really surprises us with the elimination of the award chart, and it turns out that all of a sudden Marriott points are super valuable. I'm not holding my breath on that. Unless that happens, then I just can't see going after elite status or really collecting Marriott points going forward. It's probably going to be a cash back and Ultimate Rewards type situation.
Yeah. And I think it's worth mentioning that there's a good chance that some of what we're talking about is in the distant future.
That's
in that
true.
Marriott is claiming that next year's rates, when they move to dynamic, aren't going to be much more expensive. Yeah, aren't going to be much different from what they are today. And if they're telling the truth about that, and then we have like about a year before things go really bad. So
and that means like 2 years worth of stays, right? Because if prices don't get crazy next year, then probably that means next year you'll be able to book for 2023.
Good point.
Hopefully anyway, at current price. So I probably have 2 years left of Marriott. So, am I still going to pursue, maybe I'll pursue requalifying for platinum next year if I'm able to make good bookings for 2023 at good rates still. But once 2023 hits, I fully expect Marriott to go off the rails and not be worthwhile anymore. So, it's going to be here's to one more great year, Marriott, 2022. Hopefully stay at a couple more nice Marriott places. My wife and I were talking about going back to the St. Regis Bora Bora in a few years. Now it might be next year or 2023, because you're going to have to make a move on that sooner rather than later.
And Marriott, if you're listening, prove us wrong, please.
Right. Prove us wrong. Love to.
Last point I want to discuss about Marriott is the credit card offers. So we've talked about how great the current offers are from American Express. There's the Bonvoy Brilliant card, which has the 150,000 point bonus plus an 85K certificate, 85K free night certificate. And then there's the Bonvoy business card from American Express, which is a 125,000 point bonus plus two 50K certificates. And I have to reiterate that I think those certificates in both cases will become more valuable because of that ability to throw in points to book something higher level. So given what we know is coming, the question is, should people still pursue these offers?
I think so. I think the time is now, and I hope you'll argue differently, but I think the time is now because those certificates are going to have an opportunity for far outsized value for a short period of time. Now, moving forward beyond the now, the here and now, and looking forward into 2022, 2023, those certificates will get a much more predictable value, we imagine. I expect Marriott points will probably be worth somewhere around 6 or 8 tenths of a cent per piece, per point. So if they really are worth, let's say, 8 tenths of a cent per point, those 50K certificates will still be worth like $400. They're not going to be, something that's worth less. They're going to still be quite valuable. However, if you do like that crazy outsized value, now is the time. Jump on those and get those certificates as soon as you can, because it takes a little while to get the certificates in the first place. So I would want to jump on that like yesterday in order to make sure you get those certificates in time to be able to leverage them in early 2022.
I agree. Also, November 3rd, which some of you might be listening after November 3rd, but November 3rd is when these offers are scheduled to end. So that's the last day to sign up.
And you guys thought you were safe waiting a few weeks to listen in so you'd find out about all the mistakes at the beginning of the show. You weren't. You shouldn't have waited.
That mistake again.
Shouldn't have waited until November 4th to listen to this one.
One last point about certificates. People have asked, what about should I cancel my cards? Because my card gets the annual 35K free night certificate or 50K free night certificate. I actually think that the combination of the ability to add points and dynamic pricing is actually going to make the certificates just easier to use. I think there are going to be more opportunities where you'll be able to use your certificate than you have today for a lot of the reasons I talked about before. So I won't get into that again, but I actually, from that point of view, even though I don't want to collect points, I do want to keep getting those annual free night certificates. I think they make the credit cards worth paying for.
No, I totally agree with that. And the very quick math on that is, even if Marriott points only turn out to be worth half a cent each, which I think is probably worse than it'll actually be, then a 35K certificate will probably buy you a $175 hotel for $85 a year. I'm in. Or $95 a year, whatever, 125 on the business card, or I'm in, at that valuation. So I'll be happy to keep the cards and the certificates. I don't think there's any reason to cancel it. I think it'd be silly to cancel the cards, quite frankly.
And you're probably going to get better than half a cent. So
probably,
that was sort of a worst case,
right? That's a worst case. So I think you're more likely, like Greg said, you're more likely to get that consistently. So I think it's going to be a much consistently better trade for the free night certificates, just not for points.
Right. Because today you often have that situation of like, oh, the place I want to stay is peak price, so I can't use it, or the cash rate is so low, I'm not going to use it. But I just think some of that's going to change, where it's going to be much easier to use these certificates and get, as you said, predictable value. So I like that. I like that part of it.
Me too. Definitely. So I think that'll be great. I think free night certificates are going to be hot next year. And so maybe the counterpoint of should you apply now for the cards is maybe the offers will get better. Maybe you'll have an offer with multiple free night certificates, and the free night certificates could be really valuable. So I think the time is now if you want to get way outsized value. If you're not so concerned with that, with a peak, staying at a peak time or staying in a property that's really swanky, then maybe hold off and wait for a better free night certificate offer. We have seen some of those offers of 5 free night certificates before, right? So
it's possible. Sure. But sort of backing up to the big question, is it time to say Bonvoyage to Marriott Bonvoy? We're kind of saying, yes, in the future, it'll be like, now is not really the time to say,
True.
say goodbye to them, but we expect that'll happen in the next year or two. But for now, we're actually saying, you know what? There's some great offers out there. If you can qualify for them, which Marriott has very complicated rules for whether you could qualify for their cards. We do have a post on that on how to know if you're eligible for Marriott cards. So I recommend Googling for that.
Or checking the show notes, because that's where the link will be. You can always find links in the show notes. Yep.
And so
all right.
Different from what I thought we would conclude, actually, when going into this.
Yeah. So bad news, but good news temporarily. Good news for now. All right.
Yes.
So then that brings us to the post roast. And truthfully, I don't have a post roast. So if you do,
post roast.
I don't today.
I've got to do a post roast because you wrote contemplating the best card for a single credit card wallet.
I'm gonna wave the white flag.
There's so much I could roast here, but
I'm gonna wave the white flag because I left two cards out that I should.
Yeah. There are cards that I think you should have included, but I'm not even gonna go there. Okay. I'm just gonna go based on what's in there. You picked the Amex Gold card.
I did.
I know you didn't say it's the right one for everybody, but first of all, the premise here is that someone who wants only one card, and first of all, going with an Amex at all, I don't think any Amex card should be included in that post because Amex is not accepted everywhere.
That's true. Somebody brought that up in the comments, and I was like, that's a really good point. It's something that I haven't run into in so long that it didn't even come to my mind. But it's totally right. You can't use it, obviously, in a lot of countries abroad, and then I'm sure plenty of places in the United States still. Like I said, I haven't personally run into a place that doesn't take Amex in quite a while now, especially post-pandemic. I feel like most places everything is accepted, but I know that can't be the case everywhere. So you're right.
And
great point.
The second part is that the rewards you get with the Amex Gold card, they are absolutely among the most valuable if you know how to transfer to the right airline programs and get outsized value. But for the type of person who insists on only having one card in their wallet, they're just looking for something very, very simple. I don't see any Amex membership rewards card meeting that goal. So
that's another fair point that somebody brought up. They wouldn't want to learn the complexity, and I guess that's a good point. I don't know what to say except that they should learn how to use them if they want to get the maximum for their spend. Then it'd be worth spending a little time on frequentmiler.com and reading about how to use those points.
They should, but
you don't think they will.
I don't think they will.
So what your one
someone
card
comes to me and says I only want one card.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they don't know much about transferable points and all that stuff. I'm not going with the membership rewards recommendation.
So let me ask you two questions then. First question, what would the card be?
So if there's someone who I think is going to want a no fee card, then I'm probably going to recommend the Citi Double Cash because it has the base 2% earnings, and it has a potential to grow much more valuable when you do later get into points and miles, because you can convert that cash back to transferable points. All kinds of reasons we've talked about before that Citi has a whole collection of cards that can make your points more valuable and earning rate higher. So when you're ready to go beyond the one card, the other one, I'd go back to the Venture. 2x everywhere. It does cost $95, but no foreign transaction fees. And you also have the ability to transfer to a whole bunch of partners. So you could get a little bit of everything there. Doesn't have straight cash back as a thing, but it's sort of close enough with their purchase eraser, I think. So yes, you would earn, in your scenarios, you'd earn fewer points with the Venture than with the Gold card. But I just think that you're more likely to actually use them and get your value out of them at full 1 cent per point than someone with an Amex card.
I think that's a good point. The double cash I disagree with. I would go with the custom cash, because if you just max out. So like the example that I gave, well, I guess it depends on how much you spend. If you spend a lot of money, then the double cash does make sense. The example I gave was spending about $15,000, $16,000 a year. And at that rate, if you just max out the 5X category on the custom cash, which is probably not that hard for most people, that's 30,000 points right there on only $6,000 worth of your spend. spend. And then the rest of your spend, even at 1x, is going to put you far ahead of what you would end up earning with the double cash, unless you're going to spend a heck of a lot of money. And if you're going to spend a lot of money, then yes, the double cash would earn you more cash back over time. So, but either way, I think we agree that if you want no fee, City, I guess, is the way to go.
Yeah, good point. And in both cases, you have the ability to turn those points into something more valuable when you're ready to jump into the game more. So, that's really nice.
I think that's interesting because both of us, I think, would rank City at the bottom of the transferable currencies. Yet that's what we would recommend to a newbie. Even though they don't have a single United States airline partner and their only hotel partner is Choice, they have a pretty garbagey program compared to everybody else, but that's who we would recommend.
It's very interesting. If Chase had a 2X card, that I would definitely recommend them instead, but they don't. So,
or if they had a card, even their 5X card, if it was as flexible as the custom cash is. The problem is there's going to be some categories where you're, like a Freedom Flex, for instance. So there'll be some quarters where you won't get full value out of that necessarily. So
yeah. I should say that I have recommended the Freedom Unlimited to people in similar situations. So
that's a 1.5% card if you're not going to open any other cards, though.
Well, it's not, because you get 3x for dining and drugstores. So
it's 3% on 2 categories, not the biggest categories necessarily. But dining is obviously,
it's only I recommend it in situations where I think people are likely to also add a Sapphire or a Ink Business Preferred to their household so that they can do transferable points. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Good enough then. All right. Okay. I'm going to skip over the second question. And that was a pretty good answer. So more or less addresses my other question. So there you go. There was the post roast. I'm going to move into the question of the week. So we're going to change gears here with the question of the week. So question of the week came from a comment from a reader. So before I read the comment from the reader, what I'll tell you is this week, there are a couple of posts that were kind of relevant to this comment. So Stephen wrote a post on Sunday, I think maybe, about a bonus at Vero Bank, where you had to deposit $25 and through a shopping portal, you could get a bonus of, I think it was like 120 or 125 bucks. So deposit 25 bucks, get a $125 bonus. I wrote a post this week about Fidelity, where you could deposit $50 and get a $100 bonus. So if you're playing those games in 2-player mode, you would deposit a grand total of $150 and get $450 in bonuses. We write about stuff like that all the time. Now, I also wrote about the point debit card this week, and the point debit card has been interesting. They intrigued me this week because they added some cool new benefits. The rideshare protection benefit, I think, is particularly awesome, where if you leave your phone or something in a rideshare car that you paid for with your point debit card, you can get reimbursed up to $500 for whatever you forget and leave behind. I think that's awesome as a semi-forgetful person. That I would have that protection. They also added event ticket protection, and I thought that was a great add too. City used to have that, where if you miss the event because you get sick or whatever, you get your money back. So I thought those were great benefits to add to the point debit card. Now, unfortunately, the point debit card doesn't have a good bonus like those other ones right now. It has at times in the past, but a reader brought up a point that I've seen a few times before, but it was phrased a little bit differently this time, and it made me want to ask you a question. So reader Rob said, financial services has historically been about trust. I get that younger generations may be more likely to bestow that trust upon new apps and companies that may not yet have earned it, but I'm not there. I'm okay with missing out on 10 percentage points rebate on my modest subscription expenses, which his comment was because the point debit card also added temporarily anyway, 10% back on subscriptions and some other stuff for the rest of this year. But the point, I think, was an interesting one, that there are these things we write about, like Vero Bank. We wrote about Betterment last year, had a great bonus. We've written about the point debit card when it did have a good bonus anyway. We've written about that. And a point that comes up from time to time is, do you trust these companies? Like, do you trust them with your information? And so I thought, as the frequent miler on the air, resident elderly guy, you could weigh in on the potential for a generational difference here. I mean, do you trust these apps and things? How do you know when to trust them or when not to trust them? Should we even write about Vero Bank and the point debit card? Because how do we know that they're going to be worth the trust? I don't know. I wanted your opinion. What do you think?
Right. Well, I think there's sort of two aspects to it. One is, do you trust them to so that your money is safe, that you're actually going to get your money back, or you're going to actually earn the rewards that they're promising? Are they going to, keep whatever the rewards program is intact so that, it'll be worth as much as it sounds like it'll be worth? Those kind of things. I forgot where I was going with number 2. So let's just drill down on those. So the whether or not your money is still going to be there, most cases, there's an underlying real bank that's really the one worrying about your money, and your money's usually FDIC or whatever it is, insured, and so on. I don't personally have any qualms about that, so as long as it's not like, Joe is behind the website and is going to keep the money, I'm okay with it. Now, I do trust that, so their website says we're backed by whatever bank and insured, blah, blah, blah. I don't have a way to prove that, but I guess I do trust that somebody's going to be in big trouble if they announce that and it's not true. So hopefully it is true. The other part, though, are they really going to deliver on these promises?
Yeah, I mean, X1 comes to mind too, because you wrote about the X1 card this week, and that was a similar comment that we got on the X1 post.
Yeah.
Like, is it a Ponzi
that's
scheme?
A great example.
Is it going to disappear? Are these points going to suddenly, vanish into thin air and not be worth what they said they're going to be worth? How do you know? How do you trust these things? You don't know.
I mean, I actually think that's a great point, but the counterpoint is, when you see like these great opportunities, if you don't jump on them, then you're going to miss out. So there's a balance, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, you could jump in on something like X1 and earn a lot of points and don't cash them out, and then all of a sudden they change their reward structure to where all those points are worth half a cent each, and you really lost out big time, right? That could very well happen. I wouldn't put it past them, because they're brand new business. Who knows what's going to happen? On the flip side, that means, sitting out of 3% everywhere earnings for however long, and so I don't know. I don't know that I have a good answer for that, other than,
does it matter to you? I mean, do you need to trust them? Because I mean, you say you're interested in the X1 card. Do you need to trust that the program is going to, make good on its promises and the points are going to be worth what they say it's going to be worth? Is that? I mean, do you consider that? Because I thought the point was a good one. I thought to myself, older people in my family that don't want to open a bank account at a place that doesn't have a branch in their town, because they want a place that they can go to. And I'm not really sure why, because I don't know what they have to do there. and if something goes wrong, they're going to look on a computer at the bank branch, just like you would at home. So I don't know why they need that, but they need that. And they want to hold on. Does that matter? Does that trust?
Well, obviously it matters to some people. It doesn't. It's not a big thing for me as the elderly, as the elderly guy on the show. Okay. It's not me. I don't think you could be heavy into the points and miles game and be like that.
Right. I mean, you can't trust Marriott, right? I mean, you can't trust any of these big guys, right? Things are going to change. Things are going
to change with everything, and so it's all this like game of like, if you don't do it while it's hot, you're not going to get the great rewards. But at the same time, if you do it and you sit on it too long, you might lose out. And I have examples of both of those situations, but I don't regret, overall, that strategy at all of jumping in while the iron's hot, as they say.
The iron is hot. Yeah. I mean, that tends to be my perspective too. I was curious what yours would be, because I figured you are the kind of person who jumps in on things, but at the same time, I mean, I get that you don't want to just hand over your financial information to Joe, when Joe is the one backing everything, right? Sorry, no offense to any Joes out there, but but yeah, I mean, it's hard to know. I guess I look at it, and what I said to the reader was that trust isn't a huge component to me in these things, because I don't really have a ton of trust in most companies to never change and make sure that I get awesome value. That's really on me. I got to try to take advantage of it while I can, use it for great value while I can. And if I wait too long, I can almost guarantee that everything's going to be worth a little bit less eventually. So,
right. And as you said too, like, I don't trust the big guys any more than the little ones. So, if you're worried about your private information getting leaked, it's getting leaked
Yeah,
anyway. Whether
Right.
it's because they sold it to others, which they do, or because they got hacked, which they have.
Right.
You know,
Right.
It's out there. So
yeah,
that's unfortunate, but there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. Right. That's my perspective on a lot of these things too. And I say that I talked about how I didn't sign up for Clear recently because I don't like giving away the biometrics yet, and maybe that's a little bit silly. But there are places where I draw the line, so I can see the perspective because I'm like, I don't really want to give my fingerprint to Google, so I don't do that on my phone. So I do get that there's a line to be drawn, but when I look at stuff like my name and my birthday and those things that everybody has already leaked out there 18 times, I'm less protective of that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm even less protective than you.
I know. Yeah,
I've given my biometrics to everyone who's asked, basically.
Yeah, I mean, most people do, and it probably makes sense. I'm probably being silly on it, just like I'm essentially saying that if you miss out on these opportunities, then you're giving up more than what you're getting in return by having a sense of security that that may not be well placed anyway. So me too,
but
me included.
But do what you got to do. If it doesn't
doesn't
feel right to you,
don't do it. Yeah, absolutely.
it.
Totally agree with that, because it may well turn out that you made the better decision in the long run. I don't know that I've got all the answers here. So
yeah. I mean, things that we say should not trump your own gut feel for what's right or wrong about how you approach things. Right. So do you.
Yep. All right. Very good. All right. That brings us to the end. So I want to thank you guys for being out there with us today. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, and you'd like to get on our email list, you got to go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Again, that's frequentmiler.com/subscribe to join our email list. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Join our Frequent Miler Insiders Facebook group where people talk about this stuff all the time, every single day. And make sure wherever you're listening to this or watching it, you hit like, subscribe, ding the notification bell, all those fun things that help the algorithm along so all of your family and friends can find this too. And hey, just tell those folks about the show. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.